Well, here we are, Wednesday, January 4th, 2022. I'm Larissa. This is my video diary. And if that upsets you, makes you not want to watch, then stop fucking watching. I don't want you around anyway. I don't make those trashy ASMR, whatever the fuck they are, videos. I don't make those. I don't make those jerk-off videos, right? I think somebody made a comment the other day when I was talking about, rain and on the property and being property owner and that kind of thing, and how you need to take care of stuff. And like, oh, as soon as you said it was your diary, I didn't want to watch anymore. Just shut up and you'll get more hits. Not why I'm doing it, right? When you make the money to pay my mortgage, then you can sit quietly on my property and enjoy the beauty, right? But until then, you gotta listen to me fucking talk, asshole. So, here we are in the space, my gallery space, that is we still have work to do in here, and I can't start moving stuff in and hanging stuff until everything's done. So I'm waiting for some materials to come in to install. And I'm here right now because I'm waiting for phone company to show up to hook up my phone, right? We'll fucking see if they show up or not. I got some weird ass fake automated bullshit phone call last night. Have you been exposed to COVID? AT&T can't enter your home. Well, this isn't my fucking home. This is my business. Number one. Number two, how am I supposed to know? How am I supposed to know if I was exposed to COVID? If you're not by yourself, locked in a room, right? So, fuck you. I need a phone, and, fuck you Democrats and your stupid fucking Democrat games, right? The government is so gross, right? They have manufactured all of this unrest between people, and the destabilization of local communities by destruction of local business, right? So that they can push through socialist and communist agenda to keep people on welfare and create an even larger welfare state, so people can be drugged and disposed of as needed, stolen from as needed. And that is, that is really what's been going on, right? They have mass produced all of this fear, right? Conquer and divide. So you go into a community, you make everybody afraid of each other and suspicious of each other, and then you break up the wealth and you take what you want. And the wealth does not necessarily mean money, right? The wealth can be real property, it can be continuity, it can be trust and respect, right? Like that's what their goal is. And like right now, I saw like Ratzinger, Joseph Ratzinger. They keep calling him Benedict. Fuck him. The only kind of Benedict he is a Benedict Arnold. And even that, you know what? He's not a Benedict Arnold. You know why? Because he's just towed the line for all of the abusive priests, I should just say priests, because there's no such thing as a non-abusive priest, right? They're all woman haters. Every single last goddamn one of them. Every single last one of them is a woman hater. So he's laying in state, right? And they're gonna bury his wrinkled old ass tomorrow. And I say fucking good riddance. I wanna see somebody stick a fucking hat pin in his eye, make sure that motherfucker's dead. This is who died, Joseph Ratzinger, who became Pope Benedict, who was a member of the Hitler Youth, who helped as a cardinal and as a priest, who helped to hide child molesting and women abusing priests within the Catholic Church, who helped to stoke the anger and the oppression of gay peoples to the point that gay peoples now have a backlash here in all of culture, right? Because no, not all gay people are on the crazy LGBTQ rainbow brigade bullshit, right? And a lot of it really fucking is. There's no humanity in so much of that shit. But it was manufactured, right? The environment for that was manufactured. People were pushed and manipulated into behaving in such ways, into being instigated, incited, so that the church could then say to their, to other people, oh, look at these, they're crazy, so you have to beat your children if you think they're gay, right? Like, it's just to perpetuate that abuse so they can continue to have children to abuse. And I am not saying that the church is without merit, and I'm not saying that that is a definition of Christianity, because it most certainly isn't. But what it is a corruption of power, and that happens in every single religious group, and it exists in every single religious group. Every single one. It doesn't matter which one it is. It doesn't matter if you're coming from an Abrahamic tradition, a Vedic tradition, a pagan tradition. They're all the same. And that's right, pagans. Yes, you guys fucking too. It's all the same thing. It's all the same thing. Oh my goddess. Fuck you people. I mean, seriously. Oh, the divine feminine. Oh, really? Oh, the divine feminine? Egocentric bullshit. Just as much as the male-centered bullshit is. It's all just egocentric crap. Right? Oh. Really, go read the Gospel of Thomas. Go read the Gospel of Thomas. Go read it. Go read it and understand why the church sat on that for so goddamn long. Right? And when Francis dies, when Mario Bergoglio dies, I'd like to see somebody stick a fucking hat pin in his eye to make sure he's fucking dead too. Every single goddamn last one of them. Every cardinal, every bishop. Good riddance. Good fucking riddance. That's how I feel. That's how I feel. As a woman, as a Christian, as an American, as a human being. That's how I fucking feel. Good fucking riddance. They use the name of Jesus in so many shitty ways. If I were Jesus, I'd never want to come back. There's nothing here worth coming back for, right? And when Jesus said he'd be coming back, I think he was talking about reincarnation. I really do. I believe in reincarnation. I believe my dog Brody is Miss Kitty Pants reincarnated, and Miss Kitty Pants, I believe, was the reincarnation of the first Bishop of Oakland. I do. And that's why I try to be really good to Brody. Right? I try to be really good to him because he's been reincarnated as my dog. He was my kitty, and now he's my dog. And he's trying to make up for all the bullshit he pulled as a bishop. He is. He's so grateful. He and I talked about it. No, I'm not making a joke. This isn't a joke. I'm not a comedian. I think sometimes people laugh at things I say because I make them uncomfortable. But no, I'll tell you if I'm making a joke. And this is not a joke. Ratzinger. Good fucking riddance. Good fucking riddance. I hope you rot in hell. I know it's not up to me. But if it were, front of the line to those fiery gates, motherfucker. make sure you save a spot at your lunch table for Francis. Oh. I'm just disgusted by the treatment of women and the blatant hypocrisy, particularly over the COVID vaccines, right? Right? Do I believe in the power of transubstantiation? Yes. Am I interested in breaking bread with any priest or bishop or cardinal or pope? No, I'm not. Because I don't know who your bread is a host for. Right? I feel that way about all of them, not just the Catholic Church. I feel that way about the Orthodox Church. I feel that way about all of them, whether they believe in transubstantiation or not. I don't believe in a God that would create us and then require us to feel shame for existing. I don't believe in that. And I believe that the story of Adam and Eve is a metaphor, is a way of explaining the leap from animal consciousness to human consciousness. And that's not to say that I don't believe humans are animals. I believe that it is an evolutionary process of awareness and reasoning. And I think that comes from brain development as well as physical orientation, right? As well as physical orientation. And I've seen a number of scientific documentary talking about the evolution of apes that people are studying now, currently, right? And like there's these orangutans that know how to use, have taught themselves from watching how to use basic construction tools, right? And things like that. And language exists, you know, and apes are able to, some apes are able to be taught sign language. I mean, Coco the gorilla was all, you know. And there are elephants as well. And also dolphins. Dolphins are able, there's been breaking into that communication barrier. It's why India listed dolphins as persons, right? So crime against a dolphin in India is the same as a crime against a human being, which really isn't saying much, because look at all the crime in India. I mean, acid attacks on women. Like, seriously, like, but whatever. Crime against a being. But it's interesting, you know, when you look at the mythos of all religions, what I think is happening is, and what all of those stories are just different ways of explaining what was happening, or the evolution of humanity. Like you look at Ganesha and Hanuman, right? Ganesha, the remover of obstacles, the elephant god, and Hanuman, the monkey warrior god, right? J. Hanuman. I think what those stories, Hinduism, Vedic tradition, is older, whether you're talking about Jainism, Hinduism, Sikhism, all of these Buddhism, which was born out of Hinduism. Hinduism is older. There's a timeline. There's a timeline of these philosophies, and the evolution of human storytelling, whether it's been oral or written, and what languages, and languages that are no longer spoken, or languages that have been written down but we don't even know how to read, right? Because cultures have passed on, and the context of those languages no longer exists. And I think all of these stories, Ganesha was probably a well-respected elephant, and the stories of Ganesha are passed down oral history from when from before human beings were hominid, right? Or Homo sapien, upright walkers, when we still had shared language. And you look at the story of Babylon and the Tower of Babel and the scattering of the languages, this is an adaptation of stories of evolution of human consciousness, right? No longer able to speak to each other, have to learn each other's language, becoming so disparate, so isolated, evolving in different ways because of different preferences, whether that be in diet or living conditions or genetic aesthetic, right? Meaning who you want to mate with. Yeah. So the story is added to as we go on, right? And that's why there's such a battle between fundamentalist Christianity or extremist Christianity and fundamentalist and or extremist Islam, because I don't believe that fundamentalism and extremism are necessarily the same thing. I think both frequently go hand in hand, but I don't think they are synonymous, right? Fundamentalist just means that you follow strictly basic tenets, right? Like the Amish are fundamentalist. I would definitely call Amish fundamentalist Christians. I wouldn't necessarily call them extremist, however, because you don't see them out bombing churches, other churches, right? Or taking over other people's lands. You don't see them doing that, right? You don't have to be a fundamentalist to be an extremist. You just have to be extreme. Like, look at the Jewish settlers who recently stole Greek Orthodox owned land in Jerusalem. Right? That comes out of extremism, not necessarily fundamentalism, because those Greek Orthodox were fundamentalist, right? It's all just, it's frustrating. It's frustrating, and humanity has such a desire to belong, have that feeling of belonging to a group, that people are easily swayed and brainwashed and manipulated. And that's even more so now, it's been instigated even more so now through the isolation of the manufactured pandemic. What do I mean by manufactured pandemic? I mean that there were a lot of governments, world governments, that had financial stake in the Wuhan lab, right? That was not an isolated Chinese issue, right? Chinese have other motivations, right? Because the Dalai Lama's getting pretty fucking old, right? The Chinese government wants to pick the next Dalai Lama. Can you imagine? As disgusted as I am with the popes, can you imagine if the Italian government said, oh, no. Forget the synod. We're going to pick the next pope. Can you imagine? What the hell would happen? What would people think then? Or what if Putin decided, oh, no, 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 Russian Orthodox Church, I'm going to appoint the patriarchs from now on. Right? See, that's what China wants to do in Tibet. They want to be the ones to name the next Dalai Lama. And what's interesting, it's so interesting to me, because the process, it's not, they don't elect the Dalai Lama, they find the Dalai Lama, right? So there's a period of time where there's going to be no Dalai Lama. So when a human being leaves vessel within the tradition of Tibetan Buddhism, and I believe in all Buddhism, but I know specifically in Tibetan Buddhism, there is a 40-day vigil. And this is so super interesting to me because it is referenced. This 40 day. It's mirrored in the 40 days of Lent. You know, the 40 days that Christ spent in the Garden of Gethsemane. It is mirrored in the 40 days of Ramadan. It is mirrored in the 40 days that Usui Sensei sat on the cliff meditating until he was enlightened with the knowledge and attunement of Reiki. Right, these 40 days. And Reiki also has Tibetan roots. There is a Tibetan Daikumyo that is associated with the practice. And the tenets of Reiki, the history of Reiki, the teaching of Reiki from Usui Sensei himself is that he did not invent Reiki. He rediscovered Reiki. Right? It was revealed to him by an ascended master. And the kanji were given to him by the ascended master. Right? He never comes right out and says which ascended master he spoke with. He never gives a name, never says Christ or Elijah or whoever you want to, Ganesha or, Buddha himself. He never says that. He never identifies the ascended master. He alludes to the ascended master. He alludes to the ascended master's pleroma and the revelation of that pleroma. And so it's also very interesting to think about it in that context in relationship to, say, the Gospel of Thomas, right? Where you're talking about pleroma. Or the Gospel of Judas, where you're definitely talking about pleroma, right? And so the 40 days after a vessel expires and the being is still close to the vessel, and so the holy people, the clergy, right, the Buddhist clergy must sit vigil and pray, right, with that being as that being transitions into the next level of existence, and with the idea that then that being may or may not be reincarnated. And when it comes to the Dalai Lama, what makes the Dalai Lama special is that the Dalai Lama has made a karmic agreement to be reincarnated continually until the perfection of humanity is complete, not the perfection of the Dalai Lama. So the Dalai Lama has agreed to reincarnate until the perfection of humanity is complete. I think that's super, super interesting. So China wants to find the Dalai Lama. They want to appoint the Dalai Lama. Now, who has been finding the Dalai Lama for centuries? The Shaolin. The Shaolin have been the keeper. They're like the Swiss Guard for the Pope, right? The Shaolin are the keepers of the intimate knowledge of the Dalai Lama. And the process in finding the being reincarnate is very, very rigorous, right? There's all these spiritual tests. Similarly to what's supposed to happen when the synod elects the Pope, right? There's a series of holy tests. Or when a synod decides to canonize, right? There's all these tests that happen. Or when the synod decides whether or not there is evil incarnation, right? Or or spiritual miracle. They're supposed to, it's like, there's a Chris, there's a hearing, there's a trial, and there's tests. Right? China, secular Chinese government wants to choose the Dalai Lama, wants to appoint the Dalai Lama. Oh, isn't that crazy? I wonder what like real staunch Buddhists think about that, because I really haven't had a chance to talk to any. Like most of the Buddhists that I meet have been Jewish people who have said, oh, I'm not Jewish anymore, I'm Buddhist. Oh, but I'm still a Jew. Which, fine, whatever. Whatever. I kind of feel like when you convert to something, then it's a leaving behind of the other, right? I mean, that's kind of what the term conversion means, but whatever. So like whenever I've done, like when we did transcendental meditation, when I did transcendental meditation, and you know, it's always a bunch of people from other religions who've said, oh no, I'm Buddhist now, I'm Buddhist. Oh, I'm enlightened. The word enlightenment, I'm enlightened. Okay, whatever. Whatever you say. 40 days. So, it can take a number of years before the Dalai Lama is rediscovered, because you have to give the being the opportunity to reincarnate. That means a woman needs to be impregnated. So the Dalai Lama said that next time he said next time I hope the Dalai Lama is a woman, and that she's beautiful, so and wears lots of pretty makeup. That's what he said. I about died. It was a joke. Or he said like the Dalai Lama would have to be a woman, and she would have to be beautiful and wear lots of makeup. That was a pretty strong comment on culture, wasn't it? And it went over the head of most people. Yeah. Watch the movie Kundun. Seriously. Watch the movie Kundun. Or read the Vedas. Or hell, read Siddhartha. Herman Hesse, Siddhartha. Read that. Unless you like living in Maya. We all live in Maya. Everything's Maya. Everything is Maya. Anyway, they say not to speak ill of the dead. I don't know that Ratzinger is dead. I don't know. What is death? What is death? Is death the expiration of this body? Is it? Is that what death is? I don't know. I've met a lot of people walking around who seem pretty dead inside. What is death? Qu'est-ce que c'est? Je ne sais pas. Le muerte. I don't know. Je ne sais pas. Oh, Streets of Laredo, that song. As I walked out on the streets of Laredo, as I went walking in Laredo one day, I found a young cowboy all dressed in white linen and cold as the plague. There's a line in that song where he says, but please tell the news to my gray-haired mother. Let her know the cowboy that she loved is gone. But please not a word about the man who has slain me. Don't mention his name will pass on, right? That stuff, right? They beat the drum lowly, played the fife. No, beat the drum slowly, played the fife lowly. As they carried him along down to the green valley, laid the sod o'er him. He was a young cowboy, and he said he'd done wrong. Right? Curious. I was telling somebody. I was telling another Catholic the other day that I'm curious to know. I'd be curious to read, voyeuristically curious to read Benedict's Contemplations, because that's what when he abdicated, because that's really what he did. It was an abdication. It wasn't a resignation. It's an abdication because the Pope is technically a king, right? The Pope is a king. That's why Vatican City is its own country. It's a kingdom. It's not even a country. It's a kingdom. And when he abdicated, the condition of his abdication was contemplation. And contemplation would have been a giving up of certain like creature comforts, life comforts, and a devotion to esoteric practice that would then include journaling and writing. And I'm sure it was daily writing, and it was probably extremely regimented. And I'd be very, very curious, or I am very, very curious. I think the church will probably not, if I were to guess, they would probably decide to not release his writings for a number of years, right? To seal his writings in the Vatican crypt until the majority of people who are alive now are dead, right? Say like 50 years, 75 years. What is that? What is 50 to 75 years in the lifetime of the church? Not much, huh? Not much. Human lifetime is but a blink of the eye of the Creator in the scope of the expanse of the universes, of existence. Now, I'm saying I'd be voyeuristic because I'd be looking, I'd be reading it, looking, just to see, is there anywhere where that man ever apologized, ever acknowledged his complicity in the suffering, torture, abuse, and slaughter of so many. And not just during World War II, but up until the day the man died. How many women suffer? How many children suffer? The austerities and abuses of dogmatic corruption. That's what I'd be looking for. So, they shouldn't let me see it. And I'm sure I'm not the only one who feels this way, right? Am I saying I feel superior to Benedict? No. I'm not. He's the one who took on the mantle of infallibility, which I don't believe in. I think it's masochistic and sadistic. Right? To place that mantle on another being, or for another being to claim it, to claim infallibility. Can you imagine? What an arrogance. What a true arrogance. Anyway, Sylvia Brown died, the huge windstorm that happened. She blew her way out of town, didn't she? Sylvia Brown blew out of town. Wonder what happened to her son. Is he still around San Jose? I don't know. I never met him. I don't even know what he looked like. As I walked out on the streets of Laredo, as I went out walking in Laredo one day, I found a young cowboy all wrapped in white linen, wrapped in white linen and cold as the plague. I can tell by your outfit that you are a cowboy. These words he did say as I went merrily along. Anyway. They gonna lay the sod o'er him? Or they got some jail cell crypt to put him in case he be undead? I don't know. They're gonna dig him up in 30 years to see if he's rotted. They're gonna put him in a glass casket to see if he rots. Is he incorrupt? Well, I found him by the railroad tracks this morning. I could see that he was nearly dead. I knelt down beside him and I listened just to hear the words that dying fella said. He said they left me out of prison out in Frisco. For 10 long years I paid for what I did. Been trying to get back to Louisiana just to see my Rose and get to know my son. Give my love to Rose, please won't you, missus? Take her all my money, tell her to buy some pretty clothes. Tell my boy that Daddy's so proud of him. Don't forget to give my love to Rose. Oh my God. Johnny Cash. There's another one, right? What a dick. Great music, but what a fucking dick. Got away with it because he had a dick. Anyway, have a good day.